our minds are changing, our experiences are changing. You are changing from this instant forward. You are changed. You'll never be the same again. And so, if you embrace that, if you say, I know it's not going to be the same as yesterday, and I will admire that, I will honor that, and I will go forward with that, the change will be for the better because it has happened. It can't be for the worse because that's the end of life. It will be for the better because you're going to continue living, and therefore you have to embrace it. It's a necessity. It's very, very difficult to do for any individual. Change means jeopardy, and you seek to cling to things. And I would imagine that businesses are the same way. We've seen so many examples of American businesses clinging to what worked before. The world around them is changing, and the management isn't changing with them. It's as though they're fearful that they might lose their portion of the market or the income or lose their customers or whatever it is, instead of knowing that you have. Cisco has to change gradually, hopefully, so that it becomes part of the milieu, but everything changes, and you have to honor that.
Great answer.
What's the scientific term for the constant change? What is it?
Entropy.
Entropy. That was the word.
So, when we were talking last, you told me a story about collaboration that I found quite interesting. It was when you were talking to the president of Marvel Comics about doing a project together. Would you share a little bit about...
Remind me.
You had met with the Marvel Comics CEO. You were talking about bringing your knowledge and doing something and combining something new with him.
Right. Well, I'm trying to remember what the point I was making with you.
Well, the point you were making is that you brought the point of view that you brought was unique to your experience.
Well, here's what I wanted to do, and I'm making some headway. I've written some books, and some of the books have been other stories of the same character. So I've made some comic books in the past. There's one of Star Trek, of course, but there's a series of books I wrote called Tech War that became a comic, illustrated novel. And I was watching Ricky Gervais on the television. And they've got stick figures, and their voices, a radio show with stick figures and little animations. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to take a comic and with a close-up camera, move the camera so that you have motion, and you're moving through the figures, and there are actors doing a radio, fleshing out the dialogue, so that it's not animated, but it's moving, and you're hearing voices. So it's a combination of radio and comic book. Radio comic.
So it's a new form.
I thought of it as a new form, and that's what I was trying to get Marvel Comics to do with it.
Okay.
And that was the
collaboration point. Well, you bringing your talent and your knowledge to another form.
Right. I do comic books. I do plot and stuff. So that may take place.
Okay. So I want to get the opportunity for the audience to ask a few questions. We actually pre-recorded a few questions from some audience members. So if we just look at the monitor, if we could play the first question, please.
Is it true that you can't do the Vulcan hand signal?
Is it true that you can't do the Vulcan hand signal?
Yeah, I can do the Vulcan hand signal. They don't respond, but what the heck? No, the fingers don't go that way. Yeah, I had to do it once. They tied it off with elastic.
I liked your signal. That's quite interesting. I think that's not a sign of peace. It's a sign of war. How about this one? There's another one coming up.
Which role did you like playing better, Kirk or Denny?
Which role did you like better, playing Kirk or Denny?
Well, you know, playing the role of Captain Kirk was wonderful. I had the best time, best people. I was a comparatively young actor then. I didn't know, I'd just come off the stage. I was used to a theatrical performance. I could have done less, did more with less, but that was what I did. I in fact, and I'll answer the question, but I also want to be sure to mention that on July 22nd, on a pay-per-view station called Epics Pay-Per-View, I completed a documentary in which I went to all the captains of Star Trek, and I interviewed them and try and find traits, lines of significance between all of us. And in an interview with Patrick Stewart, because I make a discovery in the documentary, I make a pivotal discovery of myself as a result of doing research on Patrick Stewart. His gravitas, his seriousness, his professionalism to the role as the captain of the starship gave me a thought about my attitude towards Captain Kirk, and I make that point in the documentary. It becomes actually the arc of the documentary. So, Captain Kirk was a extraordinary role, an extraordinary time in my life, and it propelled me to be here this afternoon. Years later, with the dawning, and I mean this seriously, the dawning knowledge of, oh, that's how you act. Oh, that's what acting is. I begin to, and now, somebody thinking, oh, really, that's what I should have been doing all these years. It's like, oh, really? I'm about to keel over and I'm just discovering what it is. It's so debilitating. Why didn't I know that 40 years ago? I don't know. Of course! But that's it exactly. I mean, maybe that's life, you know? Of course, that's what he was saying. Of course, maybe there's of course to everything. Of course, that's the way to do it.